You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports, coming at you. Our live Q&A mailbag. I answer your questions live on our Thursday show. You ask questions related to the Niners. I answer them here on the show. Let's kick off this mailbag with this question from Rogue Goose 1. He watches us every single week, so I appreciate you. Who will have the most rushing yards off sweeps and screens, Deebo Samuel or Brandon Aiyuk? It's an awesome question from Rogue Goose 1. Shows me you're a football nerd like myself. I'm going to go ahead and say Deebo Samuel. I think he is more lethal on the ground game, especially coming off those sweeps and screens. And I also like his ability after the catch and after runs and handoffs and screens a little bit more so than Brandon Aiyuk. But both of these players so similar because they're tough, they're rugged, they're physical, and they are almost impossible to bring down once they get to the second and third levels of that defense, especially for opposing cornerbacks. So go ahead and say Deebo right now, but both of these guys are Swiss Army knives. How about this question from Haneef Razzack, another guy who's always watching us every single week as we go live on the 49ers Report every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. Turn those notifications on. What are the possibilities that we win the Super Bowl with Jimmy G under center compared to winning it with Trey Lance? I don't think it's crazy to say that the Niners can win the Super Bowl in 2021. They have depth, they have talent, they have high-end pieces. They have a great coaching staff. As long as this team can stay healthy, I think they can contend for the NFC West, which is going to be a fantastic division that I think will go down to Week 18, and I think they can compete for a Super Bowl. And honestly, maybe they have a better chance to win the Super Bowl this year with Jimmy G rather than the rookie in Trey Lance. Again, can't harp on this enough. You can say what you want about Jimmy G. He's a pretty solid quarterback. He wins a lot of games. He is a talented cat, and he can play. He can spin it. And if he's able to stay healthy and he keeps his job as the starter, I think the Niners are in good shape. Niner faithful, my guy, do you think Nick Bosa can win Comeback Player of the Year? Possibly. And he'll be an attractive candidate to win Comeback Player of the Year, especially coming off that torn ACL. I just think when you look back at the guys who win this award, especially last year with a guy like Alex Smith, you have to really overcome some challenges or bounce back from a horrific season. And it's not like Nick Bosa is coming off that. Yeah, he missed the entire 2020 campaign, basically. He only played 2 games because of that torn ACL. But as a rookie, 9 sacks. Fantastic player. I think he's due for a double-digit sack season. Don't think he'll win Comeback Player of the Year. The Rainbow Cow with some emojis, I see. All right, I'm down with some emoji game. How many wins will the Niners get this upcoming season? I'm going to go ahead and say 11 as of now. I think they go 11-6 in this 17-game, 18-week schedule. That, of course, will change if injuries pop up, but I think the Niners are in good shape. Give me 11-6 this year. Wet Noodle 187, he shot me a DM the other week, so thank you. And hey, Producer Perry, good timing on that. You can give me a follow on Twitter at Chase_Senior and slide in those DMs if you want to talk Niner football. My daughter Tiffany wants to know who she can get her fantasy football league or who she can get on her fantasy football league. I'll pick you up with the spelling there. On the Niners, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Aiyuk, George Kittle, all of those guys due to go off this year and good fantasy options as well. Polo Loco saw USA Today rank Trent Williams the second best tackle in the NFL. Do you agree? So if you're watching on our live show, we're going to get to this later on, so stay tuned for that. I think Producer Perry is going to pop this quote up from USA Today as they rank Trent Williams the second best tackle in football. Good question there. This is what they had to say in those rankings. Williams sat out the entire 2019 season due to friction between himself and his former team, the joke Washington football team. But it didn't take long for him to hit the ground running in his new home. Williams allowed 3 sacks in his first 4 games back in action. He gave up just 1 after that, along with 3 quarterback hits and 9 quarterback hurries from week 5 on. I do think Trent Williams is no doubt a top 5 tackle. Is he a top 2 tackle? Let's go ahead and say he is. I mean, he's certainly paid like it. He was given the largest contract for any left tackle in the history of the NFL. So I think he is. What do you think, though, as I pose this question for you? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Do you think Trent Williams is the second best tackle in the NFL? Wyatt Lee, hashtag 49ers. Do you think Trey Lance will do good? if he plays, he will. He's surrounded by a lot of talent. He's surrounded by a bunch of premier elite offensive weapons, and he has one of the brightest offensive minds at the head coaching spot in Kyle Shanahan. So I do think Trey Lance will play well, and I think he's destined for success. I see it as it's almost impossible for him to fail as long as he avoids injuries, because everything is there for him to succeed. Let's pivot to this question from Laszlo Van Zandt. Hi from Melbourne, Australia. Good day, mate. Is it true Jalen Hurd is on schedule for training camp? Yes, he is. Coming off the torn ACL that he suffered in training camp and in the preseason last year, he is on schedule for training camp at the end of July when this team reconvenes. And also, shout out to Melbourne, Australia as well. I've been there like 5-6 times. My cousins and my aunt live there. My dad grew up there. Appreciate you, Laszlo. Gigolo Jones is, I think, how I'm pronouncing this. Hopefully I got that right. If I got it wrong, I apologize. Good name there. Usually players say it only takes a couple practices to realize how good someone is. I think he's talking about rookies here. Everybody continues to hype up Lance. Are you putting stock in that? Yes. Now, you can look at this one of two ways, right? You can look at it from this way, where you're like, well, we drafted the guy number 3. We want to give him confidence, and if he's just faltering during practices and looks like crap, that's not good. But unlike last year, reporters and the media were able to catch some of these practices live. They were able to see Trey Lance in action. And yes, it's not 11 on 11. There's no contact. There's no preseason. It's not like he has defenders at his feet. It's not like the pocket is muddy. But what you're looking for is an improvement in mechanics, arm strength, accuracy, leadership, intangibles. You're looking at how he can go through his progressions, how he's handling 7-on-7s, and the overall rigors of being an NFL starting quarterback. And the consensus has been Trey Lance has passed in all of those areas so far. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and say he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but the word right now is Trey Lance is playing well, he's impressing, and he's also taking onus on going through these offseason workouts by himself, working out with Mohamed Sanu and Deebo Samuel. George Kittle continues to compliment him as well. I think the hype is real. What do you think, though, Niner Gang? Type R for yes, it's real. Type F for fake. Get your votes in down below. How about this $5 super chat from CT Loud Production? We appreciate you here on the 49ers Report. Which Niners player do you think will have the most yak, and who will have the most receiving yards? Good question. Got asked a similar question earlier on in this mailbag about who will have the most rushing yards off jet sweeps. It's a similar type of question, and you're looking at two of the similar players. You're looking at Deebo, and you're looking at Brandon Aiyuk. And I think this points to the Niners' philosophy of what they look for in wide receivers at the top end of the NFL draft. They want physical guys. They want athletic specimens. They want guys who are difficult to bring down. When you look at the rule changes that have transpired in the NFL over the last several years, it caters offenses, it caters wide receivers, and if you have physical, athletic guys, it's really hard for them to be defended by any cornerbacks in the secondary. And in terms of yak, like when Deebo, when Aiyuk, they get to that second and third level, these dudes are lethal, and they're capable of taking it to the crib at any time. So, similar question, I'll go with Deebo, but Aiyuk is going to be right on his heels. I honestly think Aiyuk could be due for a 1,000-yard season. Pop Johnson tuning in. Will George Kittle finish in the top 10 in receiving yards across the whole league? Does that factor in wide receivers and tight ends? If so, steep expectations if you expect him to be top 10 with the bevy of talent at the wide receiver position across the NFL. Going to go ahead and say no, but in terms of tight ends, yes. Ashton Butcher. Is he a distant cousin of Ashton Kutcher? Possibly. Saw you talk about that Bleacher Report article saying Richard Sherman might come back. You think it's for real? Hashtag 49ers, hashtag Niner Gang, hashtag Niner Empire. That's why Niners fans are the best, man. They're so passionate, and they're on top of everything. So I don't think Richard Sherman is going to re-sign with the Niners. I just think that the Niners are going to go with more of a youth movement. I think they have plans for some of these younger cornerbacks on the roster, Ambry Thomas drafted in the 3rd round, Diamador Lenore in the 5th. They want these guys to play, and they're looking into the future. And if they can get valuable reps right now in the present to prepare them for a larger role in the future, I think that's a pretty smart philosophy. So as of right now, I don't think Sherman is coming back to the Bay. But I'm interested to see where you guys are on this and gauge your feelings on it. Will Richard Sherman return to the 49ers and re-sign with San Francisco? Type C for yay, he's coming back. Type B for bye-bye. Once again, get your votes in the comment section. Andres Martinez, if at all, which game in the season would you think Trey Lance would be given the reins? I've been asked this a couple times. I'm looking at Week 8 on the road against the Chicago Bears. Kind of because I want that to happen and come to fruition, because that's when the Niners go up against the Bears. And wouldn't it be lit to see Trey Lance, drafted at number 3, go up against Justin Fields, who the Bears moved up for, and you can kind of get a glimpse as to maybe a future rivalry between 2 rookie quarterbacks who the Niners were both rumored to be interested in both of them. I'm looking at the Week 8 mark, but I also think Jimmy G is going to play well. It might frankly just come down to health. Move ahead in this mailbag with this question from Haneef Razzack. What are the possibilities that both Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel get 1,000 receiving yards? I think one of the two is going to compile 1,000 yards through the air. These guys are really, really good players. Deebo going to be entering year 3, Aiyuk in year 2. This is a wide receiver combo that can cause havoc for many years to come. I'm going to say that one of them gets 1,000 yards. One of them has the potential to do so as well. The Rainbow Cow, last question in this mailbag. Will Nick Bosa put up better stats than Joey Bosa? Okay, a little brother rivalry here. I think Nick Bosa, I've said it a couple times on the show, I think he's going to be a double-digit sack guy. I think he's going to come back from that torn ACL, and he's going to play really well. Joey Bosa is also really good, but do the Chargers have as good of a defensive line and as deep and as stacked of a D-line as the Niners do? I don't think so. What does that mean? A lot of the focus going to be on guys other than Nick Bosa, which I think is going to free him up for going wild. So I think Nick Bosa will have more sacks as well as better stats than his brother Joey Bosa.